They've got none pizza with left beef.
Yeah. That is exactly right. I'd forgotten about none pizza.
I have never forgotten about that. I'm never not thinking about that.
No, and that's good. That keeps you centered, you know, or at least to the left a little bit.
Yes. I'm Tom Dickinson.
And I'm Louis Midas.
And this is The Cloister Room,
a podcast about Doctor Who and other things.
So, you know where I was this past weekend?
You were at that thing.
I was at LI WhoCon 2.
LI?
This time it's personal.
Yeah, so you were away and apparently off Twitter, or at least that's what you said you were going to do.
For part of the time.
Yeah.
I was off Twitter during the day on Saturday after the finale aired in the UK, because I wanted to see it live in the screening room and not have it spoiled.
So which screen did you go to?
I ended up going to the quiet screening.
Okay, yeah.
And the screening rooms, I didn't think they were that great in
really?
terms of screen visibility from everywhere in the room.
Oh.
But I happened to be in that room for the previous panel anyway, so I managed to get not a good seat, but good standing room.
There you go.
Yeah, I was strategically positioning myself for the previous panel in a way that would suit the screening. So
yeah, that's good. At least I think.
Lots of interesting, fun stuff at LI WhoCon. I had a very nice time, and I think I will be going back for LI WhoCon 3 now with more Velvet.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
I like that. Are they gonna keep going with that? I guess they gotta.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I know. Gallifrey 1, the big one out in LA, has a different gimmick every year relating to the number. I know this upcoming one is going to be 26, so it's like the 26 seasons of Gallifrey 1, where that's 26 seasons of Classic Who. But they've had a different little gimmick every time. But yeah,
that's cute.
I think so. But yeah, so I had a good time. Lots of panels. I got to get my photo taken with Colin Baker and Paul McGann. I got to see all kinds of panel stuff. I got to hear Terrence Dix talk about what he thought about the female master.
Ooh.
He didn't like it.
Oh.
Well, that doesn't surprise me because he's kind of known for saying things that are sexist.
Oh, okay.
So it didn't surprise me, but he kind of. I was actually kind of hoping to go all weekend not hearing him say anything about the female master, because I thought that would be more fun not to hear him say anything about it.
Yeah.
But on a panel, I think in response to a tangentially related question, he spoke up about it, and he said he only hopes they got it out of their system and won't be doing the Doctor as old men now. So,
aww.
But yeah, he's a very good panelist though, because he knows lots of things and has done Doctor Who related stuff for years. I got to see him on a panel about 7 Keys to Doomsday, which was a stage play that ran for 6 weeks back in the 70s.
I feel like I vaguely remember this, or remember vaguely hearing about this somehow.
Well, it's referenced in
oh yeah,
Night Terrors, where the Doctor says something about Snow White and the 7 Keys to Doomsday or something.
Right.
But yeah, they did a whole panel on just that, which is not much of a thing, but he was there, and Wendy Padbury, who played Zoe in Doctor Who, but who also was one of the stars of that play. They got to kind of talk about the whole deal, which was pretty interesting to hear.
Sounds like it would be.
Yeah. I also got to chat a bit with Jason Haig-Ellery, one of the people who runs Big Finish.
Oh,
and
neat.
yeah, there was a neat little Big Finish meetup where he and Nev Fountain, one of the Big Finish writers, and about like 15 fans just got to sit in a circle and just chat about stuff.
Huh.
And he announced and/or confirmed and/or revealed some things that he's not supposed to, and said, "Don't tell the internet."
Oh, okay. So you can't tell me.
No,
Because I am the internet.
No, yeah, exactly.
Because and that's good. That sounds like that's really what cons are all about, is dark secrets.
Oh yeah, well I've always thought so.
So that's good. That's real good.
Yeah, so it was a very very fun time. Lots of panels, lots of dealer's room stuff, lots of autographs and photographs and mimeographs and karaoke too.
Oh yeah. Well, and what would that's essential, I think, is karaoke.
Yeah, I thought so.
But yeah, it sounds neat. Well, and it fascinates me, the idea of a convention that is so specific, because I've been to anime conventions and I've been to PAX, which I guess that's a video. Like, I mean, it would be. I guess it would call itself a video game convention, although it has other types of media too. But I've never attended one so specific, and that sounds like that has the potential to like have panels that are like so specific.
Yeah, and the thing is, while you're there, it doesn't feel specific because you're thrown into Doctor Who, which is so huge and has so much different stuff, that you manage to spend a weekend feeling like that Doctor Who is just the entire world. Like, and that's all there is, and there are all these there's so much stuff within that world. Like, there was a panel that was just Paul McGann, Daphne Ashbrook, and Yi-Ji Cho from the TV movie, and it was it was excellent. They were actually really really fun together.
Interesting.
And actually, Yi-Ji Cho was great because he on Sunday, when everyone was like kind of in a rush to go home, one of the last things they did was the Two Doctors photo session with Paul and Colin, and it was a really big long line, and he came out and entertained us in line with his guitar, where he wrote an improvised song based on feedback from the people in line, where he went up to each person and asked what's your favorite thing about Doctor Who, and he would write a line about their favorite thing, and it was the Doctor Who song game, he called it. But yeah, so you have that panel with that's totally the TV movie. This is all about the TV movie, and then you have another panel that's all about Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant talking about the Sixth Doctor era, and it's those two things are, they're so distant from one another and they're so narrowly focused that it feels like there's, even though the whole convention is specific in its focus, it feels like there's so much variety and there's a little something for everyone.
Well, yeah, and there's. Because you don't even have just the main TV show either. You've got the Big Finish and stuff, and it's just all that different stuff. There's it's possible you could have two people, and probably did have, and there's more than two people at that convention who are into totally different Doctor Who's.
And that's almost certainly true. Yeah, because there are people out there who only like the classic series and have no interest in the new series whatsoever. And I imagine some of those were at the con. Mm-hmm. And there were people at the con, and I know that there are people at the con who have only ever seen the new series and never seen the classic series.
Yeah.
And so they have come mainly for cosplay reasons.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a lot of cosplay.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
I feel like I want to do that because it seems like I was missing out on something by not having a costume.
Well, yeah. That's kind of, yeah. And I imagine that is... Oh, man, yeah. Well, so, what do you think you'd do?
I don't know. I've tried... Well, what I would want to do is do something that no one else is doing.
Well, obviously.
One great costume I saw was someone went one day as the Second Doctor, and the next day as Salamander.
Ah, that's great.
Yeah, and they were both really good. But yeah,
that's awesome.
One of the most popular costumes, actually, was Osgood.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a pretty easy one to pull off, too.
Well, it's a pretty easy one, but it also is a pretty sad one now.
Well, that's very true. Right, and also a very difficult one to cosplay now, because how do you do a pile of dust?
I'm sure someone will. But there was a female Adric.
Oh, wow.
I saw some really good Roses, some really good Rivers, some various Romanas. A lot of... I saw a female Mr. Clever.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh, that's interesting, and also really specific.
Yeah, so it's the 11th Doctor with the cyber stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So a lot of Claras, a lot of kids in costume, which is great.
Aw. Yeah. So was there at least one of each Doctor?
Oh yes, they even did a lineup like in the Day of the Doctor.
Ooh, awesome!
But with they added in Capaldi kind of with his hand on Hartnell's shoulder, because they have in Day of the Doctor they have all the Doctors lined up, but Hartnell is behind them.
Oh yeah.
And so they had Capaldi with next to Hartnell with his hand on his shoulder, and then someone so they just did this in the lobby, and there happens to be like a balcony overlooking the lobby, so they could take it from above.
Oh, nice!
And then someone photoshopped it to make it look like they were in the sort of misty, spacey thing where the Day of the Doctor ends. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, and I figured, all right, fine, because I've been to conventions where people are cosplaying various Doctors, but obviously it's usually it's usually New Who or it's the Fourth Doctor, and usually you don't have many others in between, and so that's neat that there's someone. Well, yeah, it's so cool.
I think I saw a male and a female version of each Doctor, at least one.
Wow.
I actually might not have seen a female one, but I definitely saw female 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe not 9, but yes to 10, 11, and 12.
Wow. That's awesome.
And war. Oh yeah, there were wars there. I didn't see a female war, but I did see quite a few wars.
Interesting.
That was one of my favorite things, because I've been to, the only cons I've ever been to are, I went to VidCon one year and I went to Kineticon one year. Mm-hmm. And this is the first time. I mean, I saw Doctor Who cosplayers at Kineticon. You were one of them. I was there, and you were cosplaying the 10th and 11th Doctors, right?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, but I've never it's the sheer overwhelming volume of I saw a 10th Planet Cyberman, so the original Cyberman.
Oh wow!
And I managed to get a picture of the 10th Planet Cyberman next to a Cybusman. A new series Cyberman.
Right.
Yeah, and that was. I mean, there's just so much. Oh, there was an empty child with the sister/mother, whatever her name was.
Ah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and you know what? I also saw some Irish Wild Times.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Well, yeah, and it's weird because it's different at because it's different at Kineticon, where you're there for a thing, and there's gonna be fans of everything there, and when you see someone who's also a fan of your thing, which in this case is Doctor Who, it's sort of like this big deal, like, oh my god, you're cosplaying the 10th Doctor or whatever, and that's kind of a big deal. But then but this, it's so weird to me that this is a completely different thing where everyone is already there. That's already the baseline is.
Yeah, so it becomes a microcosm of that, where it's like,
right.
Oh my god, you're Iris Wild Time. Oh my god.
Well, yeah.
You're Mr. Clever. You're so it's whatever it is that you're super into, there's probably someone else there who's as into it, if not more.
Well, right. Well, yeah, and that's another thing is when if you get too obscure at one of the more general cons, then people mistake you for something else.
Yeah.
But this is already so specific, you can really go really, really, really obscure, and people will still know what you're doing, or they won't mistake you for anything else, probably, or at least the chance of that goes down, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so were there also people cosplaying different masters? Not that the master had that distinctive a costume, I guess, throughout.
Well, I definitely saw a Delgado master. And I saw an Eric Roberts master.
Okay, well, those are, I think, pretty distinguishable.
Yeah, I did not see any Missies.
Okay,
might be a little too soon for that.
Might be. Well, until last week, or until the weekend prior to the con, you wouldn't know what you were really cosplaying.
Right. Not that should necessarily stop you.
No, not at all.
Yeah, and I saw there were, of course, Rose's, Donna's, Martha's, Amy's, Clara's.
Any Rorys?
Not that I noticed, but...
Well, because that's a pretty easy one, I would think. Well, or it depends on what you do. But if you're doing, the Last Centurion...
No, yep, I definitely did see a Last Centurion Rory.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I figured yeah, because that's kind of an easy one, more or less. I mean, it's not that it's like super easy, but I imagine if you really wanted to, you could find like a sort of Roman themed costume that's just like a generic costume and sort of do that and sort of tweak it so that it looks more like Rory's. But yeah. So were there any abstract cosplays? Like, I don't know.
Well, there was probably, but not that I'd necessarily have noticed that it was a cosplay.
Yeah.
There was one guy who kept walking around with signs.
Okay.
Like on the first day, he had a sign that said "Occupy Gallifrey." Later, he had one that said "Daleks are just misunderstood," and he gave me an "Occupy Gallifrey" ribbon. Are you familiar with ribbons?
No.
Okay, so this is a thing at some cons, and it's especially prevalent at Doctor Who cons. But I know there are some other fandoms that do it. So you have your badge on your lanyard, and then underneath that someone can give you like a ribbon with an adhesive, like it's like a horizontal ribbon with a cute saying on it or something like that. I don't have a picture of mine. Hold on, let me see if I can. Yeah, if you were to like just Google image search Gallifrey ribbon,
okay,
you'd see what I mean. They're just like cheap little ribbons that people stick to the bottom of their badges and then chain them on one another. And
I see.
If you've got a really strong ribbon game, you'll have like a mile long ribbon thing. I think I ended up getting maybe 12. But yeah, so that's another kind of fun aspect of the convention.
Huh. Yeah, that's neat. Yeah, I've never been to a con that does ribbons. I've seen pins are popular at PAX, where you get like a pin and you pin it to your lanyard.
So yeah, I'm probably going again next year, and I eventually do want to make it out to Gallifrey 1, but I know tickets sell out in minutes. So
I don't doubt it.
I don't know if I'll be able to, and it's also very expensive to fly out to Los Angeles and book a hotel and whatnot. So
yeah,
this was a little bit more manageable because all I had to do was take a ferry.
Well, yeah, and I don't really know many of the Doctor Who cons that are out there. Like, I mean, I know I obviously Gallifrey 1. I know Chicago TARDIS, I think, is one, and then there's the LI Who con. Yeah, I've kind of thought like I'll get out to one of those cons someday. I don't know when that day will be, but it's on my radar. I'll say that. I don't know what direction it's heading in on my radar, what its vector is, but it's on there because it sounds to me like it's worthwhile.
Yeah, it's definitely quite an experience.
I don't doubt it.
All right, Death in Heaven. What do you think of Death in Heaven?
Well, I feel like that answer would have differed had I only watched it once.
Me too.
Okay, good. Yeah, well, and your first viewing might have been a little bit different than mine.
It was very irregular.
I don't doubt it. But yeah, no, it's kind of weird because on my first viewing, I don't know if I would say I was confused, but I wasn't sure what I had just got done watching. And but like having had a little bit to think about it, and then actually maybe like 10 minutes to think about it, and then starting to watch it over again, I don't know, like the second viewing was where it really kind of gelled for me, and I decided that I really liked it. Why?
Well, I think my reaction was in the first screening when I was, with the quiet room. I loved it. I honestly really loved it. And I carried on loving it. And then I kind of woke up the next morning. And when I had occasion to think about it, I thought, you know what? I'm honestly not sure whether that was actually any good at all. But I didn't have a chance to watch it again. And this was on Sunday. I didn't have a chance to watch it again until Monday. Because, on Sunday I was so busy doing other Doctor Who related things. Right. And some amount of that involved chatting with other Doctor Who fans about the finale. But, I was so, engaged in thinking about different Doctor Who related topics that my brain just didn't have a chance to process what I'd seen. And then I saw it on Monday, and I actually just watched it again today. And my reaction is now somewhat more like, okay, this is good, but it's not as good as I thought it was when I first saw it. I don't like it as much as I did in the moment.
I've said this all season, but my first viewing, I was sort of reeling because it wasn't what I expected, and I keep saying that, but it just wasn't. I don't know what, because I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't quite that. And I think I was thinking about it, and it's kind of paced really weirdly.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's like 40 minutes of build-up, and then Missy reveals her plan, and then a minute later it's solved. Because and it's especially weird because, and I guess this is more or less intentional, but her plan is defeated while she's revealing it. And that's kind of a bizarre thing to me. And it was so not what I was expecting. And I mean, I guess I don't know if Stephen Moffat was doing that intentionally, because it seems like fans have obsessed over things and tried to figure out the resolution before before it was revealed, and so this was his way of subverting that by making it so that it was impossible to figure out right until it was solved. And I don't know. I kind of wonder. I do kind of wonder, because it really is. It's like a minute where you finally understand what Missy's doing, and then 60 seconds later, the resolution is happening, and Danny is saving the day, and it's so bizarre.
It's an incredibly convoluted plan that she has.
Yeah.
One that involves, first of all, finding a person who is apparently a control freak, giving that person the doctor's phone number, waiting for that person to jump into the doctor's time stream and do all kinds of stuff. Meanwhile, also, I guess, so developing not one, but two different kinds of menacing science fiction water. And somehow acquiring cyber technology or allying with the Cybermen, none of that's clear to me what's going on there. But somehow, I guess, gaining control of Cybermen. And then just waiting for the Doctor and this control freak to eventually go to hell. It's just very convoluted. And I thought it was okay by the end. I think a lot of the episode is just really sloppy in the way that Moffat tends to be sloppy.
Yeah.
But it also worked in the way that Moffat episodes tend to work. Mm-hmm. So I think, on balance, I think I did quite like it, but it wouldn't rank. I don't think it's as strong as part one, and it's not in the top part of the season.
Well, yeah, and to some extent, Missy's plan fits in with the sort of the history of the Master's plans.
Yeah, of course. I would never deny that.
So, it's forgivable just because it fits, I guess. Not to say that it's a good plan, because it doesn't really make much sense. And even the Doctor's kind of, his reaction is basically like, you did all that just for this? And so it sort of fits, I guess. But yeah, I last when we discussed Dark Water, I was talking about how Dark Water was really, or this, I guess I was speaking more of just this two-parter, was really the case, sort of made the case for why we should have two-parters. And I don't know if this was a good follow-up argument. I don't think, the thing is that a large part of the episode deals with Unit. But none of that stuff was essential. None of that stuff needed to be in there. Unit doesn't do anything.
Plot-wise, no.
No.
Thematically, yes, I'd say.
Okay, fair enough.
Because it's a major thematic sort of backbone of the episode, and in fact the season, has to do with the Doctor's relationship with soldiers. And weirdly, the Brigadier. In a very weird way, that becomes relevant.
Right.
So I do think that, in and of itself, makes some amount of sense. But yeah, Unit doesn't. I mean, Unit makes the Doctor the president for some reason, and then None of that has anything to do with anything. Also, I think it's clear what Moffat's intention was with regard to killing off a character that everyone really liked.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to bring back a character everyone really likes, and if it's a story set in the present day, then it's basically going to be one of the unit characters that have been introduced.
Mm-hmm.
And so it makes sense to bring them in for that reason, I think. But they don't serve much of a role in the plot,
right? Because nothing really is advanced at all. When the Doctor boards the plane and when he falls out of it, nowhere in between there does he learn anything or gain some insight. Basically, all that happens is just he gets the phone call from Clara, and he knows he's got to go to the graveyard. But he doesn't know anything else about Missy's plan. Missy doesn't reveal anything about her plan. It's just an excuse for Missy to kill people and to have a cool Twilight Zone, Nightmare at 20,000 feet sort of homage with Cybermen.
Yeah, it's just it's just a situation that's set up to allow mayhem to occur.
Right, which
I think that's fine, I guess.
Mayhem has merit.
MHM.
And it's funny though, because as much as it didn't serve a plot relevance, and I guess it did serve a thematic relevance, so I guess I would say it should stay. But I mean, I did really like that stuff, and I thought it was really good.
I thought especially the scene with the scenes with Missy on the plane. The scenes kind of with the Doctor talking to like the Man Scout, whatever. You can kind of take or leave that mostly.
Yeah,
but the scenes with Missy and Osgood on the plane were great. The scenes with Missy and the Doctor, I thought that was all pretty fantastic. Missy in general, I just thought was absolutely fantastic.
Oh yeah. She, in some ways, she was kind of still like the John Sim Master in that he was like completely insane, and so she's kind of carrying that forward a little bit. But she's more sinister. I feel like I feel like the John Sim Master kind of was his own. Like he was evil, but he was kind of more, I don't know, I want to say like manic, but I feel like Missy seems more, I don't know, laser focused and just kind of, I don't know. I thought she was great, and really that scene was with her and Osgood was just like fantastic.
How do you feel about Osgood dying?
I was a little bit sad, I have to say. I mean, she was kind of getting a little ridiculous.
What do you mean ridiculous?
Well, like I don't know. She's always been very clearly like a fan. And I feel, but I don't know.
And this is only her second appearance.
That's true. This was. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like she was.
When the Doctor said, all time and space, something for your bucket list.
Okay, yeah.
I was like, no, because nothing good comes of that.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I really like that character, and I think there was, I don't know, I feel like, I mean, I understand why he killed her off, but I feel like there's more value in having that character alive. As she says, there's more value in keeping her alive. Like in terms of, I like the idea of having Doctor Who have this sort of stable of secondary characters in different eras. Like you've got the Victorian era characters, and now you've got the present day unit characters. And I thought that, putting them in this episode was a good opportunity to sort of build that up. Whereas this just seems to kind of tear it down.
That's true.
Which is fine, I suppose, but it's not what I wanted.
But yeah, well, and I am really glad that Kate Stewart didn't die.
I am glad. I was because when she got sucked out of the plane, I was like, all right, this is going to get reset somehow. And it didn't. But what did you think of the Cyber Brigadier?
I mean, it was kind of nice. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like it was nice to sort of give that little nod to the Brigadier. I don't know. I mean, maybe a little bit much. I don't know. But I mean, like totally like logical. Like I mean, like okay, yeah, all right. I could see him being there. Yeah,
I don't really understand why out of all the people on Earth, only Danny and the Brigadier are capable of resisting cyber influence or whatever.
Well, they're the only ones who really feel love, I guess.
True, they're the only ones who've made the promise of a soldier.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, also, like, this is a beloved character. The actor just recently died, and they've already paid tribute to him several times on the show. Like there's a scene in the Wedding of River Song where Matt Smith, rings up the nursing home and finds out that he's died. And then there's, the scene where, he first kind of meets up with Kate and it's like they've paid tribute to him, and now they've just literally dug up his corpse and put him inside of a cyber suit. And it feels like, I don't know. I mean, there's a part of me that kind of likes the idea, and we also don't know what happens to that Cyberman. He doesn't seem to fly off into the sky and explode. He just flies off into the sky. We don't know that he's exploded. He might have done, but yeah. But there's also a part of me that just is like, no. I feel, why can't they just leave well enough alone?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and now there's the risk that they could just keep bringing him back as this Cyberman. He's just out there among the stars doing good or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's okay. I was very glad they didn't do Amy and Rory though.
Oh yeah,
because I was honestly worried about that. Because there were publicity photos that came out that were set in a graveyard, and it looks very similar to the graveyard scene in The Angels Take Manhattan. So I'm like, is this gonna? And when they got on a plane, I was like, are they gonna fly to Manhattan or something? But no, I was like, okay, they're not doing it. That's fine.
Yeah, that would be a bit much. I think we don't need more of Amy and Rory. I don't think.
So, what did you think of how Danny's story got wrapped up?
I like at the very end, like I took like as they were saying, like, oh, it was just enough for one trip. I was like, oh, of course it's gonna be the kid. Although that itself is kind of.
I didn't understand any of that actually. I didn't understand what they were talking about with the bracelet. I was like, why does this bracelet bring people back to life? I didn't understand that at all. And I watched it 3 times, and I still don't understand where it is they've gone, how they get there, and how the bracelet purports to bring them back.
Well, right, because...
Do they go back to the Nethersphere after the Cybermen explode? Is that what happens?
Well, yeah, that's true. How do they get back to, Yeah, because then what's the kid doing? Like, did the kid not get downloaded? I guess maybe not.
Was he a Cyberkid?
Cyberkid? Yeah, Yeah, that would be adorable. Well, yeah, maybe it's copies, it's like they've got backups maybe. I don't know how souls work.
And is the kid still in a body that feels what his original body feels?
Well, yeah, that's the thing is, what Missy was doing traveling between worlds, she was a flesh and blood person
who was she wasn't even really traveling between worlds. She was going into the Matrix. She was like just entering a computer system and then coming back out again. And I feel like that's understandable to me anyway.
Right.
But what's happening when these copies of deceased minds come through the portal into the real world? Is it just data that magically takes flesh and blood form?
Well, right. Where's this matter coming from? But yeah. So that doesn't quite add up because the equation is it's not balanced because then they've got like a duplicate body somewhere. So that doesn't really make sense unless it's just like maybe it's like a bug where you shouldn't be able to do that, but it's letting you for some weird reason. Yeah, and that's another thing is if there are people in that Matrix thingy still, the doctor seems just content to let them die because.
They're not really alive.
Well, but no, they're not. But the thing is that, or at least what I got out of this episode seems to be that Missy has been collecting human minds since the beginnings of the myths of the afterlife or whatever. Ever since there's been that concept, Missy's been there collecting them, and that seems to me, or it seems to suggest to me that Missy is where we get these stories of the afterlife, and the whole concept of the afterlife comes from Missy.
Yeah, I kind of wasn't sure whether we were supposed to draw that conclusion or not. Because Seb says that it's just the recently deceased.
That's right, he does say that.
Although, and Missy also sought out people from the Doctor's adventures for some reason.
Well, right, we never see what Half Face Man would have died, wherever in Victorian times, but she greets him. I mean, unless it's just
what she says in this episode just kind of suggests that she just met up with them just to chat with them and get their perspective on things.
Right.
And then she came to the conclusion that she and the Doctor weren't so different. After interviewing all these people. So I guess that's really just the whole reason she wanted them, just to interview them.
I guess
including
so.
like that policeman who never met the Doctor.
Well, she never personally interviewed him.
True. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, that actually makes a lot of sense then.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so it's only the ones who actually interacted with the Doctor who get the special treatment. Well, and I guess so I guess I don't really know, but I mean, like, yeah, if there is a real afterlife that this Matrix has been keeping people from, then yeah, it makes sense to just let them get deleted from here or whatever, so they can continue on or whatever. But I don't know if this is supposedly it. If this is the afterlife, then I don't know. It seems like the Doctor should do something to step in and help him.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess the notion is that the bracelet is the only way in and out of that Matrix data slice.
I guess so.
And for some reason, only one person can use it, even though Missy uses it, and then someone else uses it. So for some reason, there's only one use left, and then it fizzles and crackles.
Yep.
Yeah, none of that made any sense to me whatsoever, and so I was just like, fine, whatever. I won't worry about it. Because I was in the screening, and I was like, yeah, there's really no time for me to get bogged down in the details of this. Let's just keep going. I couldn't pause it and rack my brains or rewind it or anything, so I just figured, move ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the Doctor would have killed Missy had the Brigadier not done it for him?
I don't know. Well, I mean, I'm sure she's not really dead.
Obviously not. So Doctor Who magazine asked Michelle Gomez if she'd be back next year, and she said yes. I'm probably not supposed to tell you this, but yes.
Oh. Well, okay.
I guess she's going to be back next year.
Unless she's lying.
Could be, but for now, I mean, my immediate assumption was that that is not an actual death for the character.
No, it couldn't be. For several reasons, one of which is I just want her to come back. Like I liked her interpretation so much that I really think she needs to come back.
Yeah.
But yeah, whether or not the Doctor could actually kill her, I'm not sure. I don't know though with this Doctor though, because we still don't know if he actually pushed Half-Face Man out of the blimp. But who knows? Maybe I don't know. He probably couldn't have though.
I think the story of Doctor Who kind of works in such a way that the Doctor, if he's ever put in a position where he has to make that choice, then one of his friends is going to bail him out.
Right.
Generally, I mean, that's maybe that's just an important part of who the Doctor is. He is the person who surrounds himself with other people who will either remove the burden from him or make the hard choice on his behalf. And that's just kind of what the Doctor's deal is. That's how. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, that when he like the destruction of Gallifrey, it's the Moment and Clara who stop him from doing it.
Right.
Even though that the question, such that the question of would he actually do it becomes a moot point, even though the answer is very possibly yes. I think it's kind of the same deal here.
Yeah. So I guess the only time that wasn't the case was in Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, where he just straight up murdered that dude.
Yeah. That's it. Okay. He just straight up killed Solomon the Traitor.
Well, he's allowed one every few thousand years, I think. I think it would be too much for the character. It would just kind of ruin the character if the Doctor ever did get blood on his hands and he did actually kill someone. I just think that would be too much. I don't know. It's okay if he's trying to save them and they're just rejecting his offer. Like that's the way it's okay, is when a villain is in a position where they are dying or will be killed, and the Doctor offers to save them, and then they refuse, and that's how he kills people.
And what he's doing there is actually this only comes to mind because of the fact that I do another podcast called The Chapter Titles Were So Good, and we talk about Harry Potter, and we're on book 6 right now, and it's kind of a major thing in book 6 is the notion that Snape and Dumbledore don't want Draco Malfoy to have to be the one to kill.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So they attempt to arrange an alternate, means where Snape will take that burden on himself. And because that's something that we're very much talking about on that podcast, because of that, it's something that came to mind when the Doctor tries to do that for Clara. He tries to, and I think it really comes to. There's so many complicated themes in this season involving like what kind of person is the Doctor, and like what makes him different from a soldier. Is he a general? Is he an officer? How is Clara different from him? How is she similar to him? And I think a lot of it just comes down to that moment where ultimately, like, the decision just gets completely taken out of his hands anyway. So, and that's just it.
Yeah. And it's, and like, really that's the only acceptable solution. Because, if Clara had done it, I would be unhappy with her. And if the Doctor had done it, I'd be unhappy with him. And really the only solution is to have someone else come and do it.
And I think, a fine solution when we're talking about the Master is to have the Brigadier come and do it.
Yeah.
Because, they're old arch nemesis from the Third Doctor are. So
Yeah. They got beef.
Yeah, they've got plenty of beef. They've got none pizza with left beef.
Yeah. That is exactly right.
So what did you think of the leaving scene where the Doctor and Clara meet up and decide to go their separate ways?
I was really kind of unhappy with that at the as it was playing out, because I don't know. There are so many things that have been brought up in this season that I felt like they were gonna address, or at least I was hoping they would address. The whole, their sort of their relationship issues, I guess. Just all the stuff that comes up and all the sort of problems that have been presented. I was hoping something would get settled, and it's kind of not. It's kind of perpetuated, and they end up basically just lying to each other. Well, they do end up lying to each other again, and I was bothered by that, and I didn't think that was a very good ending for the season. And then I guess Santa agreed.
We'll get to that in a minute, I think.
But yeah, no, I don't. Well, because that was kind of the thing, is I didn't want stuff hanging over for the Christmas special, and it seems like that kind of seems like where this is headed, because it really, like, nothing was resolved in terms of their. I mean, like, in some sense, I guess they part ways, which is what I figured would happen. I guess, like, it kind of seemed like they wouldn't continue. So I guess in that sense, yeah. But I figured it would. I don't know. I figured when they would actually part, it would be because all these things came up, and it was like, no, we can't keep doing this. This is all wrong, and it's not. It's just, it's fake happy, I guess, or they're trying to be happy for each other.
Yeah, I honestly loved that.
Oh, really?
I thought that was an incredibly appropriate way for them to end. Because I felt like it fits so it sort of fit so much, and it seemed to me like the natural conclusion of what they'd been doing, that like they finally get to a point where they just lie to one another just to make the other one happy.
Oh, that's a good point, because
there's so much in this series about like secrets and lies and whatnot, and I just thought it was so appropriate that, like, yes, this has to be it. This has to be the way it ends. Like, the Doctor and Clara just leave lying to one another, and it's this big open thing that never really gets resolved, and it's deeply uncomfortable, and it just, and you know what, I have a feeling in that scene, the way that scene plays to me is neither one of them actually believes what the other is saying, but they can't come out and say that, and so they just, like, the manner of their parting ways is like through the ultimate act of dysfunctionality, and it's like it sort of seems to me like, kind of like, I feel like The Angels Take Manhattan is the perfect departure for Amy, because of course it was eventually going to come down to her being put into a situation where everything was on the line, and she had to choose between staying with the Doctor or going with Rory. It was always going to be that way. It was always going to be Amy choosing between the Doctor and Rory, and that sums up everything that was interesting, and also everything that was kind of bad about her storyline. It was just like the perfect like apotheosis of that. And I felt like this was that for Clara and the Doctor. I just thought that everything that was wrong with their relationship came to a head and like ended up causing them to leave each other alone for completely the wrong reasons, but it's probably for the best.
That's fair. That is fair. I mean, like, I don't know. I guess I don't know. I didn't want. I guess I didn't want this to turn into like some sort of after school special or whatever. But I mean, like, I did kind of want them to end up in a better place. But I do see it though. I do see what you're saying, and I do think it kind of fits. Like, oh yeah, of course, this is just the natural, the natural conclusion of what's been building, I see that. I do see that.
Yeah. So because of that, I was a little disappointed when it became clear that this was not actually the end for them. I mean, not that I'm really disappointed, because I honestly think they're a great team together, and I love watching them on screen together. So any amount of Jenna Coleman that they want to put on Doctor Who is fine with me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure. I mean, I'm not going to judge an episode I haven't seen yet, obviously, but yeah. So I was kind of hoping that would be the end, and it's not. So, oh well.
Yeah.
I also kind of felt that way with the wrap up of the Impossible Girl storyline. I was like, well, what are they going to do next with Clara? And it turned out they did a lot of very interesting things. So
yeah.
So I guess I'll just wait and see.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and yeah. So I feel like what comes next could be interesting at the very least. I don't know.
Because there is one major plot thread left hanging between them, or at least over Clara, which is the fact that she and Danny are supposed to have descendants.
Oh yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, and because in that final scene, Clara does say she's got to tell something to the Doctor, and when I first watched it, I figured like, okay, she's trying to tell him that Danny's dead. But then on my second watch, I was like, maybe this is supposed to fit in with that 3 months Post-it note. Maybe she is actually pregnant and she's trying to tell the Doctor or something. And this is some sort of weird metaphor. When she keeps saying like, when she like mutters like, oh yeah, me and Danny or whatever. I don't know. Like, is that supposed to be something? I mean, I do really hope that. I mean, I really don't want I really don't want her to be pregnant right now. Like, this doesn't like it would just be. I think that would just be weird. I don't know, but it could very well be. I just don't know. Yeah, it seems to me like Moffat would not have done that. Like would not have left things hanging. Yeah. In terms of having her find out that she and Danny are going to have kids together, and then kill him off without addressing that. Yeah. Or at least commenting on, the fact that, this future that was going to happen and now never will. It's just like, the leaf from the Rings of Akaten, and it's all very sad and poetic and stuff like that. I don't think, I mean, whatever sloppiness one might attribute to him, I don't think that, is something he would leave. Yeah, that is a pretty big one. And yeah, it is a little bit strange. It's not addressed at all. Like, there's not even like a mention of like, oh no, we were supposed to whatever, and so yeah, I feel like there's got to be some kind of plan with that. I don't know. I really hope there is. I'm curious to know whether she'll be in Series 9. Well, yeah, she's definitely in Christmas. Right. Well, and it could, and I could potentially see them completely wrapping up her storyline in the Christmas special, but that would I don't know if I want that though, because as I've stated, I want Christmas to be fun and happy. Speaking of which, so what do you think of Santa Claus, or Jeff, as the Doctor knows him, or Jeff? Yes, Jeff. Well, I knew that Nick Frost was going to be in. Like, I remember hearing that Nick Frost had been cast somewhere. But I don't know if it had been known that he was going to play Santa Claus.
No, I think I'd actually heard something about him being in a Santa suit. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's Santa Claus. And he still may not actually be Santa Claus.
No. And that almost seems like, I don't know, like, Santa Claus seems like but I don't know, this isn't the first time that a Christmas special has been a bait and switch. Because, well, not to say that, like, we were definitely going to see the Titanic.
I think the Titanic thing was the best example. And you know what? I really did miss that Christmas special tease at the end of the season. It's something we haven't gotten that since then.
Yeah, that's true.
And I really did. You know, I had written it off as something that would never happen again. And I thought they did it really well here, where it just cuts to credits, and then after you see some of the credits, it just comes back in. With the tease, I thought that was good.
Yeah. Because that is nice, and I feel like, you know, because you do want to know that the Doctor's going to be back in for Christmas, and that's kind of a nice little thing. It's just like especially like, I don't know, it's just like the promise of more. I like the promise of more. That's all I gotta say.
And I just like the whiplash to something completely different.
Yeah. That is.
Like, it's just
great.
A complete non sequitur.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You got the Runaway Bride, just a complete non sequitur from what came before.
Yeah.
As is, Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
One thing I think we might have forgotten to mention. Did we mention the Doctor fake out? The Clara is the Doctor fake out?
Oh no, we didn't mention that. I noticed that though. That was like really cool and surprising.
Yeah, the credits and whatnot.
Yeah. Like they credited her first.
Did you think it might be true
that she was actually the Doctor
while watching?
Did I really like believe it? No, I don't think I really believed it.
I was like, could it be? I wasn't completely drawn in, but I was like, how could that be? I mean, but we saw him regenerate. I mean, was it something to do with the phone off the hook, or the phone call from the Doctor to Clara? So I was trying to think. I was like, is this possible?
Yeah. So you believed it enough to have it reach the verification stage.
I was thinking, maybe. Maybe this really is going to happen, because it would be very strange if we spent the entire season thinking a different character was the Doctor. But if it was going to be any companion, it would be Clara, I think.
Yeah.
But obviously, no, it was a complete fake out. So, but she did. I guess a lot of the stuff she knew, she must have retained from looking at his time stream.
Yeah, I guess so.
Including the knowledge that he had 4 wives, all deceased.
Is that like, I've never tried counting.
Well, I mean, that's what she says.
Is that canon?
Well, I don't know. I mean, most of the other stuff she says is verifiably correct. I don't know. I mean, he was married to River Song,
right,
who is now deceased.
Fair enough.
He was married to Marilyn Monroe,
right,
who is now deceased.
Yeah, definitely.
He was married to, I guess, Susan's grandmother, maybe? Or maybe not.
It stands to reason, but yeah, you never know.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
He was possibly married to the TARDIS.
Yeah, could be.
Not deceased.
Right.
Yeah, I think there were a couple in the books.
Oh, okay.
And he gets engaged in the Aztecs.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You can't forget that. Yeah, no.
So yeah, I guess we'll just have to forever speculate as to whether she's telling the truth there or just making something up.
Yeah, and also, I feel like this was I didn't notice, but I didn't realize that Clara's birthday was November 23rd.
Yeah, that was mentioned in Dark Water as well.
Oh, okay, that's what I didn't pick up on it in Dark Water, but I did pick up on it here, and I thought that was, I guess, strange.
I think that. I want to say that might have been established in Series 7. I'm not 100% sure, though.
I guess it makes sense.
I don't know. I know there was something about like her mother dying on the day that Rose takes place.
That's right, yeah.
Or something. Maybe I'm misremembering about the birthday, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. Well, and I guess, I don't know. I guess you might as well have that, sure.
So you know what I thought was definitely going to happen in this episode, but didn't?
What?
Dead Clara's coming back to save the day.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
Because that's even You even get a gravestone in, I guess it's at the very end of The Snowman, where you see there is definitely a dead Clara buried somewhere.
Yeah.
And Clara, like, literally walks over her grave. And yeah, so yeah, that was a totally reasonable thing. That would have been a totally reasonable thing to do.
But they didn't.
Nope.
Didn't do it.
Nope. Yeah, maybe that would have. Well, yeah. Are all those Claras in, or were they in the Nether Sphere? You know, were they? Could Danny have run into one or more of them?
Well, he didn't really leave that balcony.
No, he didn't. But he could have.
He could have done at some later point.
Yeah. There's a lot of things they could have done that they didn't.
Mm-hmm. And that's as it should be, I think.
Yeah.
They shouldn't do everything they can.
No, that would be a bit much.
Yeah, too much.
You know, I do have to say I'm a little bit disappointed that they didn't take this opportunity to bring back the tissue compression eliminator. Because I feel like, you know, there's a little bit of a wind. I mean, and it could very well be that the device Missy was carrying around was just a very, very souped up tissue compression eliminator.
That compressed you so much you just became ashes.
Right, exactly. Maybe it got a little bit beyond its intended purpose, but, you know, it still kills people, so it's still just as good.
Yeah, that would be kind of strange to see.
It would.
The tissue compression eliminator, but why not? I mean,
yeah,
maybe next time.
Yeah, I want it to come back. I still want it to come back.
I mean, so last time we had a laser screwdriver.
Yeah. As
the Master's signature gadget.
Yeah.
Whereas now we have, I guess, this thing. It looks like a smartphone.
The smartphone with a laser.
Laser smartphone, yes. So maybe next time we can finally get that tissue compression eliminator back.
Yeah, we gotta get back to that eventually. Maybe this is a cultural thing. Maybe I'm not privy to it. But it seems like Moffat in particular has done this a lot. But what does Stephen Moffat have against Belgium?
I think it's just a funny word. You know, I actually saw a Moffat hate post accusing him of racism against Belgium.
Oh.
I was like, really? Really? Is that the best you can come up with? Like, I, for one, didn't really appreciate the racism against Belgium and America, because he makes comments about Americans, too. It's like, really? Is that really what you're going to get upset about?
But I mean, well, to be fair, as an American, I was not offended. And I mean, that stereotype of Americans being overly belligerent, I happen to really enjoy that stereotype.
Well, no, it's not even the belligerence. He actually says, we don't want any Americans here. They might start praying.
Oh,
so he was criticizing them for being overly religious. So, I mean... But yeah, I don't care about Belgium, man. Belgium is funny. It's a funny word, and it's a Douglas Adams thing, because Douglas Adams... So basically, he wrote a joke about... I think it was in the third book, Life, the Universe, and Everything, the third Hitchhiker's book, where Arthur goes to a party where he meets someone who has won the award for the most gratuitous use of the word fuck in a screenplay. But the U.S. publisher is like, oh, we can't print that word in a book. You'll have to do something else. So he changed it to the word Belgium and then inserted additional stuff about how, like, additional material explaining how Belgium is the most offensive word in the known galaxy or whatever. And then that fed back into future Hitchhiker's products on both sides of the pond. Where Belgium became regarded as a swear word in subsequent books. So I think that's one of the reasons Belgium is just a funny word to use in a science fiction thing, because it references the fact that it's a swear word in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
All right, you know what? All right, then I'm fine with it. Completely fine with it.
But yeah, it was the exact size and shape of Belgium in Time Crash,
yes.
right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. As long as it's a reference to something, I'm okay with it. Someone read into, someone interpreted Osgood being killed as Stephen Moffat saying he hates fans.
Yeah, what is it? There's an article that's like, do Doctor Who and Sherlock have a bad fan problem? Is that the one you're referring to?
Yes, that one.
I mean, well, first of all, who cares?
Right.
And second of all, like, who's a bigger Doctor Who fan than Stephen Moffat?
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing is, if Stephen Moffat is saying that fans are bad, then it's self-deprecating. Like, yeah, come on.
I mean, I don't like to get into the game of like, oh well, you think Moffat's bad. Here's a Russell T Davies thing, but you think Moffat's bad. Here's a Russell T Davies thing. Rose, the very first episode of New Who, there's a character called Clive, who is a stereotypical Doctor Who fan, who gets brutally murdered in an iconic reenactment of a scene from Spearhead from Space.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's the Autons walking down the street, coming up. Yeah, so it's like the entire idea of that scene is that it's an iconic like reenactment of a scene from Doctor Who history, but it's also like the symbolic, and I think that was actually a very meaningful and symbolic killing off of the fandom, which is like, no, this is not just going to be a thing for fans; it's a thing for everybody. So you complete nerd who thinks this is just your thing, die horribly. So I've always read that as a very complicated symbolic gesture of like an attitude of complete ambivalence toward the fans. Like, here we're killing you off horribly, but we're also doing it with an iconic 70s Doctor Who monster. I mean, there's like Osgood gets killed by the Master.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is it's not like, I mean, if you're like, you have to really twist things around to read it as Stephen Moffat is saying that fans are bad, because right in the scene just previous to that, the Doctor sort of compliments Osgood and is like, yeah, hey, you want to come with me? That'd be cool, it's not coming from like if the Doctor were condemning her for, I don't know, thinking bow ties were cool or something, then like, all right, yeah, maybe Stephen Moffat hates fans, but like, the Doctor's on board with her, she seems cool to him, and it's and sort of because of that, then Missy like is just gotta kill her, and he knows, and so it's not like, yeah, it's not like this is coming, I don't know, like, yeah unless you think like, because in that scenario you have to assume that like, oh, the things the villains do are somehow the voice of the writer, and that's a really twisted take on fiction to begin with. Yeah.
This is an episode where the Brigadier turns into a Cyberman and saves his daughter from a 1995 video spinoff.
Right.
Which, Stephen Moffat hates fans. I mean, he's just like, everything he does in Doctor Who is just like this complete absurd level of fan geekery. No. I mean, there was a reason for that scene being there, and it was because, you had to, he had to establish the Master as being completely evil by having him kill off an established character that everyone really liked, which I don't think is something the Master's ever really done before. The Master's never really had the opportunity to do that before. I mean, I guess the closest thing would be the Derek Jacobi Master killing off Chantho, who we met in the very same episode.
Right.
But this is, it serves a very distinct purpose. But to read it as like Moffat lashing out in anger against Doctor Who fans is just completely preposterous.
Yeah, that's too much.
People will get mad about the dumbest things.
They really will.
It makes me so sad for them.
Well, yeah, what's it like? Like, I mean, don't they have better things to get angry about?
I don't know. I'm sure there are people who are out there who are angry about Santa being in Doctor Who. And I just can't. I mean...
Well, we don't even really know if Santa is in Doctor Who.
Exactly. Well, that's one of the reasons it's so sad.
Yeah.
They've made up their own things and then gotten mad at the thing they made up. It happens all the time too.
Yeah.
It's like people getting mad about the Clara Oswald never existed line, getting mad about what they presumed that it was going to mean.
What did people presume it was going to mean?
Like, I think they just jumped to presuming that it was going to mean something they were going to get mad at. I don't think they even bothered to fill in the dots.
No, of course not.
No.
That takes a lot of effort, you know. I don't know. At this point, I've seen enough Next Time trailers to know that when they throw in a line like that, it's directly supposed to, you know, make you freak out, and it's ultimately a misdirect.
Yeah, another thing people have gotten mad at is, you know, the notion that, why okay, so if the master has to be called the mistress, if the doctor regenerates into a woman, would he have to be called Nurse Who? And so they've come up with that in their own head, and then gotten mad at Moffat for it.
What?
Now, I mean, and keep in mind, Moffat, creator of such characters as Rory and Strax.
Right. Let's never mind that women can be doctors. Yeah, and men can be nurses, and also doctor and nurse are different professions.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I mean, and it's also never been established, and kind of anti-established or something that the doctor is not a medical doctor, so it wouldn't even sync up.
Right. Actually, I want to jump back a little bit to talking about Eli Who.
Oh yeah.
After the screening in the Quiet Room, there was an immediate reactions panel.
Okay.
In which several podcasters and whatnot got up on stage and gave their immediate reactions to the episode. It was kind of fun, but it was also hilarious because it was like a press conference in a movie when a crisis had just happened, because all the everyone was raising their questions and it was very frantic, and it reminded me of nothing so much as in Lost when they do the Oceanic 6 press conference.
Oh,
and
yeah,
everyone is clamoring to get their question, and it's everyone's raising their hands, shouting, and oh, I got a thing to say, and then they point to you, and then they get up and say their question, and then there would be a brief off the cuff response, and then everyone would start clamoring again. It looked very much like a scene from a movie, and I thought it was hilarious, but also fun. But in any case,
sounds amazing.
Yeah, one person made a Nurse Who reference about the master's the mistress, then you have to be a nurse, and my favorite thing is that he got booed and hissed and people started yelling for him to leave the room, and he didn't, but he got a very negative reception. So I was glad to see that.
Yeah. It's nice when reasonable people prevail.
Yes. I booed too. I think that was the only time I ever booed a crowd member at something.
Well, and I personally feel like you were justified there.
Thank you.
That is just the weirdest twisted logic to think that. And I mean, part of the whole renaming thing, I think, I feel like I'm going to keep interchangeably calling her Missy and the Master. And I mean, I don't know if we're meant to officially call her Missy now, but I mean, it doesn't really, in some sense, it doesn't really matter. But also, I mean, a big part of that naming thing was, I imagine, done so that to sort of keep the surprise a little bit.
Yeah, obviously, and I think it's ambiguous as to whether this is a character who is still considered the Master, and her stated reasons for calling herself the Mistress / Missy were just being cutesy, or if she's like, no, I'm not the Master anymore. I'm now the Mistress / Missy. Mm-hmm. It's ambiguous, I think, and they don't. I mean, they don't clarify in any way in Death in Heaven.
Yeah, and it's so distant from being relevant. It's there's no real reason to. There's at no point do we need to know for sure what to call her. I mean,
no, but I'm trying to work out a system in my head of what makes sense.
Well, yeah, because.
And what pronouns I'm going to use as well.
Yeah.
So my thought is that when I'm referring specifically to this version of the character, it's Missy and then female pronouns. Mm-hmm. But when I'm referring to previous versions of the character, then it's the Master and male pronouns. Mm-hmm. But when I'm referring to the character more generally, in terms of all incarnations, I haven't really decided yet.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, is do you just default to the most recent one and just whoever's currently playing it, that's the pronouns you use? Or is it, who the first Master was? So because it was Roger Delgado, it's, that's the pure essence of the character. Yeah,
Well, and you know, there are people in the real world who identify with one gender and then later come to identify with a different gender.
Right.
And many of them have their own thoughts on what kind of identities and pronouns they'd like to use, and that's not even a settled question for those people.
Right.
And I think it's even less of a settled question as to whether any kind of that logic for human transgendered individuals would apply in any way to Time Lords.
Right. Yeah, because you got to figure that, you know, Time Lord society must have covered this, you know, because
They have to have.
Right, exactly. So there must be some kind of rule, or not even a rule, but just like an etiquette, you know. And yeah, so you kind of wonder. Well, and you also kind of wonder maybe in, because obviously we're, you know, whatever, you know, we would never hear their actual language, or, you know, I don't know. I imagine maybe they have, or I'm guessing, you know, to make things easier, they would have genderless pronouns.
Could be.
I mean, like, that just seems like that would make things easier. I mean, like, well, who knows? Or you know what? Who's to say if pronouns are even that simple? I don't even know.
Well, the only indication we have of this, I think, is the doctor talking about the Corsair in The Doctor's Wife, in which he says something like he didn't feel like himself unless he had the tattoo, or sometimes herself.
Right.
So I feel like that's the only lead we have to follow.
Right.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. And also, there's the notion that throughout the history of the series, Time Lord has sometimes been used to refer to Time Lords of either gender, and it has sometimes been used to refer only to male Time Lords, whereas females have been Time Ladies. And that's referenced in Dark Water, in which the Doctor identifies Missy as a Time Lord, and she says, well, I'm old-fashioned, so I prefer Time Lady.
Right.
So that indicates that it may not be a settled matter. They may not have figured all this stuff out yet either, kind of like humans haven't necessarily. Humans aren't all on the same page in this regard, so Time Lords may not be either.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be. Yeah, so I really don't know. Yeah, I have no idea. I'm inclined to say, unless I'm speaking about a particular master, I would probably, I don't know. I almost want to say that I would go with whatever gender is currently in the role. Like, that's just, although I don't know, you know, if they switch back and forth a bit, then, you know, that's, I don't know.
And presumably at some stage, this is also going to have to be a question that that comes up about the Doctor.
Right.
And maybe there will be a little bit more guidance in the narrative for answering that question.
Yeah. I do kind of worry almost. Like, I as much as I would be very interested to see like a female Doctor, I do have to wonder how they would handle it in the show, and I'm worried about how they would handle it. Like, and I mean, like, all these questions that aren't even really like that important. Well, they're a little important. You know, all these questions that just we're bringing up off the top of our heads. You know, like, is the show going to satisfactorily answer or cover any of this? And, you know, like, I just wonder if, I don't know, maybe we should wait until we as a society have sorted this kind of stuff out.
I don't necessarily think that, because I think they handled it pretty perfectly this time with the Master. Like, I think everyone immediately started talking about the Master with female pronouns. Everyone immediately, like, the Doctor doesn't miss a beat.
That's true.
It's kind of a weird quirk of the episode that I was trying to pin down the way in which her past was spoken about, but with one exception, every sentence about the Master's past is constructed in such a way as not to need pronouns.
Interesting.
So, like, the Doctor says something like, I had a friend once, that friend and I ran together, and we were, you know, blah, 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 and now she's blah, 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 blah. So the only exception to that is Osgood refers to the Master's time as Prime Minister and says she wasn't even the worst, even though Osgood's referring to a male incarnation of the Master.
Right.
So I honestly don't know, but I don't think that should be a reason to hold up a female Doctor. I'd say do that.
Yeah.
They want to. Sorry, Terrence Dix. Sorry, twins.